Chapter 1. At the Shaw Corporation's annual gala, Victoria Shaw, the heiress of the Shaw family, openly appeared on stage with her young lover. It turned the otherwise predictable Shaw family gala into quite the spectacle. Everyone's eyes turned to me, looking at me as if I were some kind of clown. As the Shaw family's live-in son-in-law, in everyone's eyes I had always been a spineless weakling who swallowed his pride. But Victoria Shaw never expected it, that this doormat would one day publicly break ties with her. No longer subservient, I left the Shaw family. Victoria Shaw spat out harsh words, just a live-in son-in-law. Without the Shaws, he's nothing. In her eyes, it was impossible for me to leave her, but this time I disappointed her. Leaving the Shaw family this time, I would absolutely never look back. As the actual power holder of Shaw Corporation, Victoria Shaw was undoubtedly the brightest star at the company's annual gala. Highly educated, stunningly beautiful, exceptionally capable. Since she took over Shaw Corporation, the company's scale had more than doubled. But tonight, the person she arrived with wasn't me, but Ethan Reed, the young lover rumored to be kept by her. Seeing the two ascend the stage, the attendees erupted in murmurs. Madame CEO really doesn't give Manager Clark any face at all. Odd face does Manager Clark need? What can a man who married into the Shaw family possibly say? As if he dares to make a scene with Miss Shaw, she can kick him out of the family any time. At that moment I stood alone on the stage waiting to welcome Victoria Shaw. I never expected her to walk up arm in arm with Ethan Reed, her lips curved into the brightest smile, so she could smile. When facing me, she always wore a frosty demeanor. The gala host walked up with a forced smile. Madam CEO, tonight is Shaw Corporation's annual gala. Perhaps you'd like to say a few opening words? Smiling, Victoria Shaw led Ethan Reed to the center of the stage. Her gaze didn't even flicker toward me, and I, standing beside them, felt like a clown. My heart tightened until it felt cold. The brilliant stage spotlights shone down, first focusing on me. Then they shifted to Victoria Shaw and Ethan Reed. I tried to approach them. As I got closer, Victoria Shaw's icy voice cut through the air. Sonny wanted to come have some fun today, so I brought him along to see the world. You shouldn't mind, right? My fists clenched tightly. She wore a haute couture gown, exuding elegance. Her swan-like neck was pale and graceful. I took a deep breath, my emotions complex, and I was tired. Agreeing to marry into the Shaw family back then was to fulfill Grandpa Arthur Shaw Sr.'s dying wish. As the man behind Victoria Shaw, I had always been completely obedient to her. But this time, it seemed I couldn't grant her wish. Victoria Shaw held Ethan Reed's hand, preparing to speak from the stage. Ethan Reed's thin lips curled into a faint sneer directed at me, seemingly showing off. Finally, unable to restrain myself, I slammed the microphone down in front of everyone and lunged forward, punching Ethan Reed. The scene instantly descended into chaos. Someone shouted, "Manager Clark is finished." He actually dared to hit Madam CEO's boy toy in public. This time, the Shaw family will definitely blacklist this live-in son-in-law. Chapter 2. After the farce. The Shaw Corporation gala ended prematurely. Victoria Shaw dragged me backstage, staring at me, her eyes filled with a chilling coldness. Are you really that easily jealous? Do you have so little confidence in yourself? When you married into my family, I told you, as long as you behave, no one can replace you. As she spoke, Ethan Reed somehow appeared beside her. He had handsome features and fair skin that seemed to glow. Standing next to Victoria Shaw, they did look like a picture-perfect couple, while I, standing opposite them, looked like the third wheel by comparison. As for Sonny, I'm just playing along with him. You don't need to take it to heart. Her gaze softened as it fell on Ethan Reed. Ethan Reed chuckled lightly. Manager Clark, there's really nothing between Madam CEO and me. You don't need to be jealous. Don't tell me you lack even this much confidence. He leaned closer to Victoria Shaw, provocatively sniffing a strand of her hair. A cold smile touched my lips internally. I said nothing more. I turned to leave. Victoria Shaw's voice followed me. "Sincere Clark, I hope this is the last time something like this happens. When you get back, don't go out for the next few days. You're confined to the house for 7 days." Ethan Reed's stifled laughter echoed from behind, laughter laced with mockery. "Madam CEO, your punishment for Manager Clark is truly unique." My steps faltered for a few seconds, but ultimately, I didn't stop. I hailed a taxi and gave the destination. As we passed over the Cross River Bridge, I suddenly saw brilliant fireworks exploding along the riverbank. The fireworks stretched for miles along the shore. The effect was utterly spectacular. The blooming fireworks were dazzling. On the large screens adorning the facades of riverside skyscrapers, several large words flashed. "Happy birthday, Ethan," to the best Ethan. I watched, mesmerized, but my heart, like those fireworks, had long been shattered into pieces. The driver's voice broke through my daze. "Madam CEO is so romantic, setting off so many fireworks just to celebrate her husband's birthday. Now the whole city knows how much Madam CEO loves her husband. It really makes you envious." I remained silent, my voice heavy. The driver addressed me. "Buddy, don't you think? Anyone with a woman like Ms. Shaw is lucky beyond measure. It's worth it even if you have to marry into the family." Hearing the driver's envious tone, a bitter, helpless smile appeared on my face. "Is that so?" "Absolutely, it's enough to make anyone green with envy." The driver's words seemed steeped in infinite admiration. As I got out of the car, I slipped off my wedding ring. "Driver, I forgot my wallet. Take this ring as payment for the fare." The driver's eyes widened slightly when he saw the ring I handed him. "This ring looks incredibly valuable." Before the driver could finish, I cut him off. "It's fine. It doesn't matter anymore." Chapter 3. Leaving those words behind, I turned and walked away. I once thought this ring would be a testament to my love with Victoria Shaw, but now it seemed this ring was merely the shackles that bound me. "Grandpa, I might have to fail the task you entrusted to me." A single request from Grandpa Arthur Shaw Sr. back then made me the adopted son of the Shaw family, cast aside my own pride. As a top graduate from a prestigious university's aerospace engineering program, my dream was to participate in the research and development for the Ares series of spacecraft launches. But because Grandpa said, "Sincere, when Grandpa's gone, little Vicky will have no one to look after her. Her parents died early. Will you take care of little Vicky for Grandpa?" I nodded firmly in agreement. Only then did Grandpa pass away peacefully. For that, I gave up my dream. Following Grandpa's wish, I married Victoria Shaw. Though other members of the Shaw family objected at the time, with Grandpa's support, Victoria and I walked down the aisle. At our grand wedding reception, Victoria looked at me coldly. "Sincere Clark, I don't love you. Are you still going to marry me?" "I love someone else." Even though she said those words, I still married her without hesitation. I will never forget when I was 9, Grandpa brought me back from the orphanage into the Shaw household. Dressed in rags, dirty all over, I stood there awkwardly under everyone's strange gazes. A 7-year-old girl walked out, took my hand, her face lit with a bright smile. "Are you the brother Sincere Grandpa told me about? Let's go play with building blocks together, okay?" She eased my anxiety and awkwardness upon arriving at the Shaw home. She gave me the first shred of warmth I felt there. But ultimately, I never managed to enter Victoria Shaw's heart. I originally thought that by giving everything I could move her, but it was all in vain. After marrying Victoria, I abandoned my previous knowledge and spent a year or two studying finance and business. When Victoria took over Shaw Corporation and was surrounded by wolves facing hostile competitors, I helped her steady her footing, bit by bit. I helped her grow the company, making it bigger and stronger. I contributed everything I had without reservation, but ultimately it couldn't compare to her young lover. Outsiders thought Ethan Reed was just her boy toy, but I knew he was her first love, the shining light she adored most during her most beautiful years. And Victoria Shaw was also the flower I cherished most and wanted to protect during my own best years. But now I had to know when to retreat, to leave Victoria Shaw and chase my own dreams. After consulting a lawyer, I left behind a divorce agreement. The next day I slipped it into a stack of documents for Victoria Shaw to sign. She didn't even glance at it. She just dismissed me from her office. Returning to the house, I packed up all my belongings. As I gathered them, I realized that in this house I had lived in for over 10 years, very few things actually belonged to me. A single suitcase could hold everything. As I was leaving, I glanced towards one room. It was a forbidden zone Victoria had set for me. She forbade me from entering under any circumstances, thinking I was about to leave the Shaw family for good. Driven by a bit of curiosity, I opened the door to the room Victoria had declared off limits. Inside, the room was spotless. The walls were covered with photos, all of her and Ethan Reed together, from middle school to university, from university to graduation. Later photos showed Ethan studying abroad, pictures of them together overseas. Every little detail inside captured their intimate moments. No wonder whenever Victoria was stressed or unhappy with work, she liked to retreat into this room alone, probably because it held her fondest memories. I couldn't help but give a bitter smile as I closed the door. Dragging my suitcase, I headed for the airport. Chapter 4. When I sent my resume to my former mentor, Professor Davis, he was very excited upon seeing it and called me immediately, expressing strong support for my return. Sincere, it's wonderful that you can come back. You know, every time I talk to colleagues now, I mention you as the student I regret losing the most. Your ability and talent in this field are unparalleled. I'm thrilled you're rejoining us. Thank you for the opportunity, Professor. Let's skip the pleasantries. Right now, we're preparing to develop the Ares 21 crewed spacecraft project, and we really need fresh blood. But you know our line of work. Joining the R&D means confidentiality.
Yes, I understand. After landing, the professor sent someone to pick me up. My old phone SIM card couldn't be used. Regular phones are easily monitored.
The organization issued me a new card. Perfect, I needed to cut ties with the past anyway. A new card suited me just fine. A clean break from the past. After completing the onboarding procedures, the professor organized a simple welcome dinner for me with the department colleagues. I was deeply moved by this gesture. The professor said to me, "Sincere, you've just joined the unit, and there are many things you'll need to start from scratch. How about this? I'll assign a junior colleague to help you get familiar with the work environment and catch up on the project progress." "Okay, thank you, Professor. Isabel, I'll leave this task to you," the professor said, looking at a girl nearby dressed in simple, elegant clothes. She wore her hair in a high ponytail, had thick framed glasses, and her face, without makeup, had a scholarly air about it. Me? I might not be up to it. I've heard of senior colleague Clark's reputation before. He published papers in top journals very early on. Nonsense coming here. He knows less than you do now. This task is yours, the professor insisted. All right then. She looked at me and suddenly said, "Senior colleague Clark, my name is Isabel Miller. Hello, I'm Sincere Clark. Please look after me in the future," I said with a smile. After all, I had been away from this field for quite a few years. I now had to adopt the mindset of an apprentice and start over. The welcome dinner ended. It was still early. Isabel Miller showed me around the facility. She told me, "Senior colleague Clark, although our work environment is quite remote, the scenery here is wonderful." Just as she said this, she suddenly ran ahead. "Senior colleague Clark, look quickly, vast red clouds." I looked up towards the horizon, and indeed saw the sky stained with a thick layer of rosy clouds. It was breathtakingly beautiful. Perhaps this is the romance of aerospace professionals. Isabel seemed thrilled to see such scenery. After a moment of being lost in thought, I also said happily, "It's truly beautiful all these years. I had poured all my energy into Shaw Corporation, with no time to notice the scenery around me. Now, looking at the vast expanse of red clouds, I instantly seemed to understand that I had missed out on so much." In the following days, I learned various things under Isabel's guidance. After all, I had been disconnected for some years. Aerospace technology knowledge was constantly evolving. I carried a notebook, listening as Isabel explained things to me. I noted everything down diligently, and I studied humbly. Time passed quickly, and I felt incredibly fulfilled. Outside of work, Isabel would also take me to see many beautiful sights. She would take me swimming and play ball sports. She seemed much more lively than I initially thought. Gradually, I found myself influenced by Isabel's cheerful disposition, slowly shedding the shackles the Shaw family had placed on me. Chapter 5. After I proposed a solution to an aerospace problem. Everyone gathered, spent a week repeatedly discussing, analyzing, and finally verifying my method was feasible. Everyone hugged each other in excitement. Even the professor told me, "Sincere, I knew you could do it." Isabel suddenly hugged me too, looking at me with bright eyes. "Senior colleague Clark, I knew you could do it too." Our eyes met. Isabel might have felt it was inappropriate. She quickly let go of me, a blush rising on her cheeks. The blush on her face was as beautiful as the red clouds she had shown me the day we first met. On that particular day, after finishing the last important meeting at the company, Victoria Shaw dragged her exhausted body home. She subconsciously called out my name, but the house was empty, with no response. Previously, whenever she called, I would undoubtedly appear before her. She stood up, only then belatedly realizing that my belongings in the house were completely gone. Her expression shifted slightly, and she began searching the house for any trace of me. But ultimately, she found nothing. Seeing this, a member of the household staff quickly came forward to ask, "Miss Shaw, what are you looking for? Do you need my help? Where is Sincere Clark? Why hasn't he come back yet today?" she asked, trying to sound nonchalant. "Mr. Clark hasn't been back for a long time. I'll go find him right away and bring him back," the staff member said. But she didn't immediately agree. She knew I had no other relatives within the Shaw family, nor any outside. I was someone Grandpa had brought back from the orphanage, helpless and alone. The only home I could rely on was the Shaw family. The only home I could return to was the Shaw family. No need to look for him. Where else can he go after leaving me? Victoria Shaw said confidently. "He'll come back naturally after he hits a wall out there. When he comes back, notify me immediately. I want to see Sincere Clark in his miserable state." Chapter 6. After saying this, Victoria Shaw went to the study to organize some work documents. Since I left, many matters required her personal attention. She had tried delegating them to her subordinates, but none of their work met her satisfaction. As she flipped through some files, her thoughts gradually drifted to me, until she saw the divorce agreement I had left behind. She went ballistic. "Sincere Clark, on what grounds can you divorce me?" My departure had lasted nearly 3 years. During these 3 years, Victoria Shaw had called me countless times. Even when the recorded message on the other end said the number was disconnected, Ethan Reed pushed open the door to Victoria Shaw's office and saw her leaning against the sofa, her face pale. He naturally walked over and sat beside her, raising his hand to massage her temples. But Victoria instinctively flinched away. This action made Ethan Reed's face change, because previously, no matter what he did, Victoria would never refuse. "Vicky, are you still looking for Sincere Clark? He left without a word back then, which shows he doesn't care about you at all. Why insist on finding him? Maybe he's already dead somewhere outside." Ethan Reed lowered his voice, his eyes betraying undisguised see when mentioning me. He thought that once I left, Victoria Shaw would belong solely to him. But over these 3 years, Victoria had grown increasingly cold towards him. Victoria suddenly slapped Ethan Reed hard across the face, her tone cold yet firm. "Don't you dare curse Sincere. Even if he really is dead, I will find his body." "Vicky, you actually hit me for Sincere Clark?" Ethan Reed's face was filled with disbelief and hurt. Victoria Shaw glanced at him coldly. "If there's nothing important, don't come to my company anymore. 3 years later, the aerospace R&D project I participated in was successfully completed. The higher-ups granted me a 3-month-long vacation to go home, but I no longer had a home. Over the 3 years, the memories of my time with the Shaws and my feelings for Victoria Shaw had gradually faded away with time. However, I still planned to go back and visit Grandpa's grave. After all, he had raised me for so many years. Senior colleague Clark, I heard your home is in Ocean City. Coincidentally, so is mine. Let's go back together. We can keep each other company on the way, Isabel Miller said, looking at me happily with her clear eyes blinking. For the past 3 years, we had worked together almost every day. Her positive and sunny attitude constantly influenced me. Seeing her smile, I couldn't help but smile too. Okay, Chapter 7. Isabel and I returned to Ocean City together. Her parents were already waiting for her at the airport. "Po, Mom, Dad, I missed you so much." Isabel happily threw herself into her parents' arms. The family reunion, joyful and harmonious, made me feel a little envious. Isabel introduced me to her parents, her eyes holding not only admiration but also a hint of something undefinable when she looked at me.
"Pom, Dad, this is the senior colleague Clark I told you about. Mr. and Mrs.
Miller looked me over and smiled, off indeed, quite distinguished looking. "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Miller," I responded politely, planning to say goodbye and leave. But Isabel suddenly spoke up, "And senior colleague Clark, why don't you come to my place for dinner tonight? Anyway, you'll be alone if you go back." I had previously mentioned to her that I was an orphan. Coming back this time, I hadn't even found a place to stay yet. Maybe another day. I felt a bit awkward intruding on their family time. Isabel directly linked her arm through mine. "No time like the present. Let's make it today. And let me tell you, my mom's cooking is delicious." Faced with her and her parents' warm invitation, I couldn't refuse any longer and agreed. That evening, Mrs. Miller prepared a table full of delicious dishes. Isabel noticed I was a bit reserved and piled food onto my plate. "Senior colleague Clark, hurry and try it. How does it taste?" After tasting each dish, I smiled and praised, "Delicious. Mrs. Miller's cooking is better than a 5-star hotel chef's. If it's delicious, eat more. Just treat this place as your own home. Don't feel reserved," Mrs. Miller beamed, grinning from ear to ear. Right after dinner, Isabel told me that her mother had already prepared a room for me, suggesting I stay the night at their place to save the trouble of finding a hotel. Ultimately, I couldn't resist her enthusiasm and stayed. The next day, I planned to visit the cemetery to see Grandpa. Unexpectedly, Isabel had already bought flowers and fruits for the offering early in the morning. "Senior colleague Clark, can I come with you?" My heart felt touched by something. I nodded, "Okay." The sun was shining brightly, and a gentle breeze blew. Standing before Grandpa's tombstone, my nose tingled, and tears almost spilled uncontrollably. "Grandpa, I've come to see you. This is my junior colleague, Isabel Miller." Isabel smiled and greeted Grandpa. "Hello, Grandpa." I neatly placed the flowers and fruits in front of the tombstone and talked to Grandpa for a while. Recalling the days spent with Grandpa, tears still flowed disobediently. Isabel handed me a tissue and said to Grandpa, "Grandpa, don't worry. I'll help take good care of senior colleague Clark for you." Chapter 8. That sentence struck my heart like an arrow shot suddenly. I stared blankly at Isabel, tears flowing even more freely. "Senior colleague Clark, from now on, can I be your family?" Isabel took my hand, the warmth from her palm melting my cold heart. I wiped away my tears and held Isabel's hand tightly. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. I originally wanted to take good care of Vicky, but she doesn't need me anymore." Oh, and I offered this belated apology to Grandpa. I believe he would understand me. After staying a little longer, I finally left with Isabel. The moment we got into the car, another car happened to park right next to us. Isabel drove away. Victoria Shaw got out of the car. I happened to see her in the rearview mirror, but she didn't see me. Isabel also noticed Victoria getting out of the car and asked softly, "Is she your ex-wife, Victoria Shaw? En moi, my expression remained unchanged. Time truly is a great healer. It can smooth over all pain. I turned my head to look at Isabel and hesitantly asked, "On what you said just now, about being my family, was that real?" "Well, of course it was fake," Isabel blurted out without thinking. It felt like having a bucket of cold water poured over my head. But before I could feel disappointed, Isabel took my hand again, looked at me seriously, and said, "Ain't seen your colleague Clark. I don't just want to be your family. I want to be your future wife even more. Are you willing to be with me?" Isabel's sudden confession made my heart pound. Even with Victoria Shaw, I had never felt this kind of flutter. Perhaps my feelings for Victoria were merely born out of a desire to repay Grandpa. "Yes, I am willing. But will your parents accept an orphan as their son-in-law?" I asked, somewhat worried. Isabel slammed on the brakes, her face radiating undisguisable joy. "My parents really like you, and I really like you too." Saying that, she pecked me on the cheek like a little chick pecking grain. My face flushed instantly. "Actually, I like you too." I cupped Isabel's face and initiated a kiss. Chapter 9. Back home, Isabel told her parents about us. They didn't seem surprised at all. Mrs. Miller smiled and said, "From now on, we have another son." During my time with the Millers, I felt an unprecedented warmth. Mr. and Mrs. Miller treated me very well, and I came to regard them as my own parents. A week later, Isabel suddenly told me that her parents wanted to take us to a charity gala. It was only then I learned that the Miller family was also one of the top entrepreneurs in Ocean City. It was just that Mr. and Mrs. Miller preferred to keep a low profile. Isabel was originally supposed to inherit the family business, but because she loved research, she joined the research field after graduating from university. On the night of the gala, I entered with Isabel, who was dressed elegantly yet stunningly, instantly attracting many gazes. Isabel was already beautiful without makeup, but tonight, with exquisite makeup, she looked like a fairy. Soon, someone recognized me. "Isn't that Sincere Clark, the Shaw family's live-in son-in-law? Why is he with another woman?" I heard that 3 years ago, Miss Shaw openly brought her outside lover before him, and then Sincere Clark disappeared. But the girl beside him is quite pretty. Her looks are on par with Miss Shaw. That girl looks like the heiress of the Miller Corporation, Isabel Miller. Amidst the crowd's chatter, a familiar figure appeared before me. The moment our eyes met, the woman's eyes reddened. Seeing me holding Isabel's hand, she rushed over and pulled us apart. "Sincere Clark, it's been 3 years. Your anger should have subsided by now, right? Come home with me. Let's pretend what happened 3 years ago never occurred." I looked coldly at Victoria Shaw. "Miss Shaw, have you forgotten that we divorced 3 years ago?" "I never agreed to the divorce. You tricked me into signing the divorce papers," Victoria Shaw said emotionally. The crowd, already eager for drama, immediately gathered around. It was ironic, really. 3 years ago, Victoria Shaw trampled my dignity as her husband in front of outsiders. What was the meaning of putting on this act now? Seeing my lack of reaction, Victoria Shaw spoke again. "I've already cut ties with Ethan Reed. That's your business. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't want to be gawked at like a monkey, just like 3 years ago." I took Isabel's hand and started to walk away. After a brief moment of shock, Victoria Shaw immediately chased after us. "Sincere Clark, don't go." Chapter 10. Ignoring Isabel beside me, she threw her arms around me. Before, she would never initiate a hug. She wouldn't even put on an act for Grandpa's sake. I wanted to push Victoria Shaw away, but Isabel moved first. "Miss Shaw, please show some respect. Sincere is my boyfriend now." "Hugging my boyfriend right in front of me, isn't that going too far?" "Sincere Clark is my husband. He's only with you to spite me." Victoria Shaw probably thought I still loved her as I did before, that I couldn't live without her. But times had changed. I was no longer the Sincere Clark of the past. "Ms. Shaw, I'll say it again. We are divorced. My girlfriend now is Isabel. Please respect her." I held Isabel's hand tightly, afraid Victoria would separate us again. "Sincere Clark, do you really not love me anymore?" Victoria Shaw looked at me, utterly crestfallen, her eyes instantly becoming hollow, as if she had lost something precious. No, I don't. I hope Miss Shaw won't bother us in the future. I pulled Isabel away. As soon as we got home, Isabel threw herself into my arms, looking a bit down, probably affected by the incident with Victoria Shaw. I held her and comforted her softly. My history with Victoria Shaw is over. From now on, there's only you, Isabel Miller, in my life. Sincere, have you really let her go? I'm afraid you'll soften and go back to her. After all, you grew up together. You spent much more time with her than with me. Isabel looked up, her eyes filled with a trace of unease. I cupped her small face and said very seriously, I won't. I know very clearly that the person I love now is you. Isabel remained silent. I held her and placed a kiss on her forehead. Let's get married. Chapter 11. The next day I secretly went to the mall to buy a ring, and then arranged a place for the proposal. In the evening I took Isabel to the proposal spot. She didn't know I was going to propose, she just thought I was taking her out for a walk. The night sky was dotted with stars, seemingly celebrating my upcoming successful proposal in advance. As we walked, brilliant fireworks suddenly bloomed in the sky ahead. Isabel excitedly pulled my arm. Someone's setting off fireworks up ahead. Let's go see, okay? I led Isabel forward. Many people had already gathered around the fireworks display area. Soon the fireworks in the sky formed words. Isabel Miller. Will you marry me? Isabel covered her mouth in shock, her joyful eyes welling up with tears. She looked at me disbelievingly. Is this surprise you prepared for me? I took out the ring I had prepared earlier and knelt on one knee. Isabel, do you know, to me you are like those brilliant fireworks in the sky, reigniting and warming my life. I'm not good with romantic words, but my love for you is real. Isabel, I want to be your lover, your family, for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? By the time I finished speaking, Isabel was already crying uncontrollably. Marry him. Marry him. The onlookers cheered along. Isabel sniffled, I do. She held out her hand and put on my ring. At that moment I felt like the happiest person in the world. Although I am an orphan, I married the person I love most. I silently vowed in my heart that I would treat her well for the rest of my life. Aw, this is too romantic. I wish I could have a proposal like this too. Sigh, romantic men always belong to someone else. Someone posted a video of my proposal online. Unexpectedly, it garnered over 10 million views in less than a day. Isabel leaned on my shoulder, watching the video of my proposal, and said dreamily, I want to save this. When we're 70 or 80 and can't walk anymore, we can take it out and watch, but speaking of which, by then I might have lost all my teeth. Will you dislike me for being an old woman? I smiled, looking at her fondly. Silly girl. By that time, won't I have become an old man too? Chapter 12. Half of the vacation quickly passed. Mr. and Mrs. Miller had already started planning our wedding. The wedding was grand, with many distinguished guests invited, including Victoria Shaw. On the wedding day, Victoria Shaw wore a white dress, her hair tied in a high ponytail, with only light makeup on her face. Seeing her at first glance felt like returning to our university days. Back then she was vibrant and youthful, widely acknowledged as the campus beauty. But the Victoria Shaw of today had long lost that youthful energy in her eyes. Ms. Shaw, thank you for attending Isabel's and my wedding. Receiving your blessing makes me very happy, I said to Victoria Shaw with a smile. Victoria Shaw looked at me, then at Isabel. Can I speak with you alone for a few moments? I initially wanted to refuse, but Isabel whispered in my ear, Go ahead. You two should have proper closure. I followed Victoria Shaw to an empty corridor. Without saying a word, Victoria suddenly threw her arms around me. Don't push me away. After today, you'll be someone else's husband. I know it's impossible for us anymore, so just let me feel your embrace one last time, okay? Victoria Shaw held me tightly, but I pushed her away directly. No. If my wife sees this, she won't be happy. Victoria's eyes instantly welled up with tears, her pitifully tearful appearance looking extremely vulnerable. Knowing her for so long, she rarely cried like this in front of me. If it were before, I would definitely have rushed to comfort her and tried everything to cheer her up. But now, I felt nothing at all. Sincere, didn't you promise Grandpa you would take care of me for life? Can you bear to see me alone? Victoria Shaw looked at me, her voice choked with sobs. I took a deep breath. You were the one who pushed me away. She didn't care about me, so why should I cling to her shamelessly? Victoria Shaw shook her head repeatedly. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I was ignorant back then. Only after you left did I realize how important you were to me. We were together for so many years. Don't you have any feelings left for me at all? I only love my wife now, and I will only love her in the future. I should go. My tone was serious and resolute. Without hesitation, I turned and left. At the wedding ceremony, I placed the wedding ring on Isabel Miller's finger. Amidst the cheers of the guests, I kissed Isabel. Sincere, from now on, you're my man. I won't let you escape easily. Isabel looked at me, her face full of happiness. Isabel, you are the rest of my life. Chapter 13. The vacation quickly ended, and Isabel and I prepared to return. Mr. Miller drove us to the airport, looking at us reluctantly. Isabel, are you really not considering taking over the family business? Dad, let's talk about it in a few years. I don't have plans for that right now, Isabel replied, pursing her lips. Mr. Miller sighed lightly. All right then. When we reached the departure lounge, Mr. Miller quietly pulled me aside and whispered, Sincere, you and Isabel should have a baby soon. With a child, I reckon this girl will come back. Dad, isn't that a bit much? Anyway, I currently had no plans for children. We just got married and naturally wanted to enjoy a few years of just the two of us. Nothing wrong with it, it's settled. Mr. Miller patted my shoulder. I could only pretend to agree. Sitting in the departure lounge, a face suddenly appeared on the large screen display. It was Victoria Shaw being interviewed. Miss Shaw, your ex-husband has remarried. What are your plans now? A reporter asked Victoria Shaw, holding a microphone. Victoria Shaw smiled faintly. I think I probably won't get married in this lifetime. Why? Is it because you still have feelings for your ex-husband? Since you like him so much, why did you let him go and divorce him back then? Victoria Shaw fell silent for a few seconds. Because I couldn't see my own heart clearly at the time. By the time I saw it clearly, it was too late. Regardless, I wish him happiness. Just as she finished speaking, Isabel suddenly called out to me, Sincere, it's time for a security check. Okay. I smiled, stood up, and took her hand. On the plane, Isabel suddenly asked me, What did my dad say to you earlier? He told us to have a baby soon so we can go back sooner, I whispered in her ear. Isabel's face immediately turned red. Is that what you think too? I respect your choice. I knew Isabel chose to return because of me. Because I loved this career, she was supporting me in her own way. And now, I had completely broken free from the shackles of the past. Doing what I love with the person I love. Together, heading towards a brighter tomorrow.